appreciate where we have come from. There's a journey to this, you know, from the 18th century where we fought for women's right to vote and all that. We've come very far. The strategy that we employed at the time, you know, was different. We're in a different era where women want to move past this phase. And we have women who are in very responsible positions, higher positions. Some of them are members of parliament. We have women who are in corporate, you know, institutions and all that. We have lawyer here who teaches in a whole faculty, you know, like the Gimpa Law School. And then we have yourself, myself, other people, those in the market who are managing homes and families, and the livelihood, the growth of that family depends on them. So we have come far. So first of all, I think that it's worth celebrating the journey, the process that we've gone through. But it's also important that we can't just be stuck here and be happy with where we are. We can press for progress. We can grow more. We can be in charge. But I think that at this point, it boils down to having a conversation, using a different type of strategy, which is a more persuasive marketing approach, where we can sell our message to other people. Because over the years, I think that we have come to a point where we realize that our male counterparts have not been that supportive as they are supposed to be. And yet, about 90% thereabouts of the world's power and property and resources are in their hands. And we cannot let that continue, because it still doesn't give us that leverage, that influence that we want to command. So we need to have a persuasive approach to getting them on board us and supporting us. So that's the next phase that I think we should move on from here.
Clara, press for progress.
Thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers and to the entire Ghanaian population, and especially to women. And if you permit me, I actually want to give a special shout out to Hassanatu Yakubu, the lady in Yendi that the news is carried that she was supposed to be the best, that she actually went for the interview and she excelled the best, but somehow the prize didn't get to her. Wherever she is, I want her to know that she's a winner.
That was really ridiculous, wasn't it?
Very. I want her to know she's a winner, whether or not they have officially recognized. All they have to do is to acknowledge that she's the winner, but she's the winner wherever she is. She should keep on being the winner, and whatever it is, it's a reflection on us as a society if we are not able to acknowledge that she is the best. So to the extent that the story is true, I'm hoping that the institutions involved in this will do the right thing, and that wherever she is, she's the winner that she's supposed to be, or she is, and she should continue to win. Now, with respect to press for change, like Afia said, we've come a very long way. I've always said if you are going to look at the struggle for women, it's varied from society to society. It's been different from every society. For our society, yes, we have come a very long way, but there's still a lot more work to be done. Although we've come a long way, and although you can find women in a lot of places now, there's so much more that we can do. As a society, of course, every society to be able to reach its highest potential needs the resources of all of its inhabitants, all of its population. That would include men and women. I remember I did some work that the issue, we always say the male counterparts. And then I was doing some work on feminism and justice and just looking at women issues and justice. And what my supervisor said is, why are you always saying men, men, men? What about the women? It's the society, it's all of us. To some extent, yes, it's true. If you look at it, we've all been raised with certain expectations across board. But I think we have to reach a point where together we realize that we are in this together. And for us to be able to move forward as a society, we do have to work together. So our society will be better off if we are able to break the glass ceiling. There should be no ceiling for a man or a woman in terms of whatever they want to do. The only thing that should hold them back is themselves and the potential or their willingness to achieve. But we are looking for change that, well, women should be allowed to have freedom of choice to be what they want to be, and that not just that, society will be accepting of women who are that. So yes, there's a lot to look forward to, and then we hope that as a society we will continue to do our best as we've done before.
Tryphena, for a student, what does Press for Progress mean to you?
Yeah, well, first of all, this day that we are celebrating, International Women's Day, just serves as an opportunity for me to witness this collective effort where we all come together to acknowledge the achievements of women in all various sectors, political, economic, and even social. And I think press for change is to acknowledge the need for advancement, that yes, we are the police, and yes, there is the need to get to a second phase. So I believe within this phase, we get to even identify the hurdles that stand in our way, and then find out what we can do to overcome them and get to the level that we want to get to.
Okay. Now, of course, some will say that every year we celebrate International Women's Day. And on that particular day, we decide that this is what we want to do, this is where we want to go from here. Afia, would you say that between last year and this day, we have made any significant progress?
I think that politically we have not made that significant, change, because if you look at the election results, you look at the number of women who've been elected, it's just a minor progress that we've made. Right. But I think that we're dealing with a society that is largely conservative. Right. And that's why I emphasize always on dialogue and the need to coexist and grow together and equity. And Lawyer emphasized that point too, that we should realize that we're in this together, because the kind of progress that we want, the women cannot achieve it alone. We cannot. We have a system that is, like I said, largely conservative, but a system too that has been used to a certain kind of setting. We need to make that system change, but we can only get it to change if we persuade the system to look elsewhere. Because if you deal with a person who has been used to something, eating banku every day, and he doesn't have any problem with it, why should they try fufu or something else? They don't see the need. But until you adopt a certain kind of strategy that will make the person appreciate that, okay, this other food is also there, has the same benefits, same calories, then you should try it and push the person or encourage the person to try it. We will not move forward. So we've not seen that much progress. But I think elsewhere, if you look at corporate Ghana, we've seen some kind of improvement. We've seen women getting to higher positions, influencing the system. Socially, I think that even in the social setting, you are seeing more women being the heads of households. And for me, that is a power that we can use to change our children at home, our nieces, our nephews, our young boys. Because the power that women wield in their family gives us a very, some kind of social influence and power and leverage that if men don't have that, because often in the social system, men are not in the house often. It's the women who control the house. So that power that we have, instead of seeing it, for instance, somebody who says slavery or servitude, you should see it as a power to influence the next generation. Right. And then maybe from 10 years from today or 20 years from today, we'll see the young men and young women who are the kind of women that we want to see, the kind of men that we want to see, the kind of men and women who are willing to work together, who don't believe in stereotypes, who think that, like Lawyer said, a woman, there's no glass ceiling. You can do whatever you want. But until we get a conversation that will make people appreciate, you can't just force change. Change has to be progressive in a certain way with persuasion.
It's interesting she talks about society, because just 2 weeks ago, I got a call from a lady I didn't know. She said her 7-year-old son came home and said that, Mommy, why do you work? Because my teacher says that women shouldn't work. Women must stay at home. And this is 2018. So, she was trying to encourage the boy, and the boy would just not buy it. Then he saw me on TV and said, oh, so she works. And then the mother said, yes, if she doesn't work, she won't be able to take care of herself and look this good. So the woman called me to talk to the little boy. So you still have teachers, men, who are sitting in classrooms and telling children that it's a responsibility of a man to take care of the woman, to work, and that the woman sits at home. How do we change that?
It's a true upbringing. It's the way, when it comes to that, it would be how we bring up our children. We will always, of course, even though we will be bringing up our children right, we have to show an interest. And like you said, that's why I emphasize on role modeling. Right. We just can't keep shouting slogans where women advancement it's concerned. And we just can't keep expressing intention. We will do this and we will do that. No, we have to start speaking in terms of we have done this and we have done that. And key to it is role modeling. You must put people in public places, women in public places, women in leadership positions, for the entire society, both girls and boys, to see that it is okay
but why is it
for a woman to lead. It's difficult because even though you tell, sometimes people will tell you that, oh, this is okay. It's like a theory. It's okay for you to hear it. It's another thing for you to experience it. I'll give an example. We always said, oh, it's okay. Children can express their views. They can tell us what they want. But how many times has a child expressed their view and then you are in shock, like, how dare you talk to me like that? But you were the one who said, so we can keep talking, it's okay, but I think we need to live it. if we talk it, of course, it does some work. It doesn't achieve it. But if they see it, if we demonstrate it, if we show them, it has a better, a lasting impact. It will take time, but then they start to get used to it. So that when somebody has a female boss, whether male or female, who has a female boss, it's normal. And then you can relate to the person as your boss, rather than, but why is this, like sometimes there's this difficulty in accepting that you have to be under the authority of a female, which shouldn't be. Again, it's the upbringing. Like you just pointed out, sometimes I get it from my son. Because he's like, okay, come and pick me from school. And when I say I have to work today, I won't be able to pick you from school, he has a difficulty understanding it. But he doesn't have a difficulty understanding if his dad is not able to do it. So his dad he thinks it's okay, it's normal. So, you have to keep trying. And then a child like that, if they grow up seeing their mother working, you keep talking with them. By the time they are of age, they are used to seeing a woman work. So hopefully they will have better relationships with their own spouses and all of that. So yes, you will always have some part of the society pushing back. Not their fault, again, because we've all been brought up a certain way. But we have to find a way. Yes, we can use persuasion. The truth is that sometimes you need to use force. Is it a saying in the Bible that the kingdom of heaven suffered violence and the violent take it by force? You have to use different methods, because different methods have different ways of sending information. So you have to explore which one works. So I personally don't have a problem with different approaches being used, as long as we are able to get all of us to realize that it is for our own good that we need to make this progress. But we all need to understand it first. Otherwise, as for fighting, that one, it won't work. Because we're all brought up a certain way. But eventually, we should be able to make certain progress.
Tryphena, tell us about your school. I mean, how do the men relate to women in terms of gender equality?
For a journalism school, I guess we don't see so much of inequality, but it's subtle. For instance, during our SRC elections, you have a lot of males standing for positions, and then we had a female stand for a presidency, but then she didn't win.
Why?
And, well,
she wasn't that popular, or she wasn't competent?
I believe she was very competent. I believe she was competent, but I think it's that notion that males dominate in leadership positions. So people just thought she didn't deserve to be there, or people just thought, well, there's a man there, why would we put a woman here when there's a man to be in this place? So, yeah, I think there is inequality. There's that gender parity that still exists in institutions. And I don't know what can be done to let this go away, but it's happening, and something must be done about it.
How do we address a concern like that?
I think that women should make a case, and making a case comes back to the point I raised earlier about dialogue. That we make a case that we are competent, and show statistics of women who are equally competent academically, skills-wise. Let's make a case. It's not enough, like a lawyer said, shouting slogans. It's not enough. When we say that we want gender parity, we want gender equality in the workplace, what shows? Do we have the numbers? Say, in the media industry, how many qualified managers do we have as women? Do we have women who are qualified and not getting the positions? Let's make a case. Okay, we have the statistics of these numbers of women who are competent in this area, very good, can handle the emotional intelligence, everything, tick, 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 check. Then we make a case. If we don't begin to move the discussion into real figures and numbers, I think that we can't get the men to appreciate the system, not the men, the system to appreciate where we are coming from and the need to change. We need to get information, now move the advocacy into getting research people to do research for us, and then backing the slogans we're making with statistics. So we come and we say that we have members of parliament. Okay, this is the number that you have. But we think that these women we've identified. Between now and the next 2020 elections, we will groom them to get to this level of competency. They can equally contest elections. I don't think it's even fair when we make this argument, sometimes politically, that some of these positions should be reserved for women. No, I think that we should build their competency and let them contest equally on the same platform. And then when they win, I think that they will confidently, you know, lift their heads up and say, yes, we competed with these men and we won.
Okay.
So these advocacy groups should now move into now getting revenue, getting funding to push these women, getting, you know, the skills for them. I think that a lot of work has been done in the past, but socially we've not been able to push them to that point. I think we should move it from the forums and fora to the ground, you know, boots on the ground, like somebody said.
Yeah, but Clara, do you think that as a nation we are doing well in achieving gender equality?
We could do better. I would say we haven't done too badly, but we could do better. Because if you are going to trace our history, and if you are looking today at how many women are everywhere, we have made some progress. So I think we've done something. We've done quite a little. I can say we've done something, but there's a lot more that we can do. Because if we look at the potential that exists, we know that there's a lot more that we can do. Another thing that I would want to add is also women themselves, because sometimes the inhibitions, yes, we have the system being the inhibition, but sometimes we have the woman herself being the self-regulator. In this case, it is not. There are some women who won't put themselves up for certain positions, although they are
afraid.
Exactly. So women also have to be able to conquer that fear. It's usually, if you look at the next person, they are far more competent. They have all the qualifications, the competencies, and all of that, but they are not very confident in advocating for themselves. It comes back to our upbringing, because you're supposed to be modest, right? And then when you have to sell yourself for those kinds of jobs, modesty is not going to get you. You have to go all out and market yourself and say, look, I'm that good, I can do it, which we are not very used to doing. So women themselves will also have to deal with it. But to help, that would also include a grooming. If we acknowledge that we do have a certain societal problem, we have to have a policy aimed at addressing that problem. So if this is how we are brought up, and because we know that this is the inhibitions because of the upbringing, we need to make a deliberate effort to deal with it. This is where leadership comes in, and this is where policy comes in. So like I said, we would have to stop, I mean, the lip service and then the slogans. I think we've done quite well with that. It's enough. I think it is now time that we start seeing deliberate efforts, so that when we are talking, we are reporting on the deliberate efforts that have been put in place and the consequences of those deliberate efforts, whether we are achieving what we want or we are not achieving. We need to change direction and all.
But I think that to be like a lot of work has been done, like lawyer said. But I think that to empower the women themselves mentally, you need some kind of support systems around you. I mean, Anaba, I know your background. I know my father trained me like a boy, you know, so he will fix his own pipe and he will have me standing there. My mother trained me like a real woman, because she will be cooking and I'll be standing there, and she will give you a timeline. By 13, you should do this, you should do that, and you dare not cross the line. So for us to build that mental capacity, it rests on us, the older women. So we in this generation have the power. Like lawyer said, she's talking to her son. We should start talking to our children, start talking to the young boys and girls in our family, that there's no difference between a boy and a girl, and that you can do virtually the same thing. Once we do that, for the older women, we need some kind of social support systems. Look, when people start calling you names, Nanaba, oh, she's this, she's that. If you don't have very strong support systems around you, you cave in. So yes, we intend to be strong, but without those support systems, you cave in. I can tell you the number. You know it. So the number of times I've been called names. I'm sure lawyer from where she comes from. When she decided to go to law school, they'll say, you a woman. Why are you going to law school? You should stop wearing
I'm
yourself.
sure some David said that if she doesn't take it, she won't get a man to marry.
I've been told that a lot of times.
A lot of times. You know, and if you are unfortunate like myself and you are not married,
if you're not married, then they say, it's because of your attitude.
It's because of you. You know, so we need strong systems around us. Men, women, everybody inclusive, to support you mentally so that you don't cave in, because everybody has a breaking point. Men and women, everybody has a breaking point.
Okay, let's take a break. We'll come back and talk about some of the gender gaps in our society, and if they are obvious enough, we'll come back to continue with our discussion. Stay with us.
Michabiana Maniate, Machabin to Maniate, Minum Bear Mamma, the And too many power and fear doom watching. And says up in for noon. I was drinking sports beer.
And don't go bitters. A demufua.
Revitalize your body with Kasser-Tee. Reduces stress, improves your sleep.
Do you really want to keep your job?
I try, sir. But always wake up feeling very tired.
Don't you drink Kasser-Tee?
Kasser-Tee.
Kasser-Tee is a food supplement formulated to improve sleep, reduce stress, relax muscles, invigorate the body for good health and vitality, giving you a fresh start for the day.
We love Kasser-Tee.
Now available at all pharmacies, filling station shops and shopping centers nationwide. Contact Medimosis in Accra, Kumasi, Tema and Strazako. Kasser-Tee, another quality product from Medimosis, not suitable for pregnant women and lactating mothers.
Kasser-Tee invigorates the body for good health and vitality.
The kind of authority that you have, the Bible says that he has made you a priest, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people. What it means is that when your daughter is sick, you don't have to call the pastor. Oh, I call my pastor is not answering, and because of that I am depressed. No, when you lay your hands on the sick shall. We have so many depressed Christians. Why? Because when they are going through hard times and they call their pastor and their pastor is not picking, then my pastor doesn't like. Your pastor doesn't have to like you. Your pastor doesn't even have to have any word with you. All that you know you need to have is have a relationship with God and establish your contact with God and be in your place, your high place. Stand as the heir of Christ.
Hello, my name is Dr. Michael Bodin. I'm the head pastor of the Maker's House Chapel International. I'm coming your way on GH1 TV with Destiny Word. I believe that everybody's life and destiny needs augmentation, and that's why you have to make a date with me. God bless you, even as you stay tuned.
Destiny Word. GH1 TV, your best experience.
Nukro, Alomodie, Edumuna, Edumunae, Senya Alomo Bitesa, Massa, forget it.
Casapreco Alomo Bitters, authentically African.
Sa pepe.
Welcome back to State of Affairs. I'm here with three lovely, competent, hardworking ladies. Afia Pokua, Vim lady. Afia, that's Vim lady. I mean, people don't even know you're Afia Pokua.
It's amazing.
They know the Vim lady more than...
You know? It surprises me sometimes.
I know. Afia Pokua is a news editor at Multimedia Group Limited. And then we also have Clara, Beeri, Kasser-Tee. She's a law lecturer at Gempa and a private legal practitioner. And then we have Tryphena, Yeboah. She's a student at the Ghana Institute of Journalism. Okay, so I want us to talk about gender gaps. Clara, are they obvious? Are these gaps obvious?
Yes, to some extent. To some extent, too, I would say no. Yes, to some extent, because there are certain positions when you walk into the room, like for maybe a top management meeting or a corporate setting, the gender gaps are obvious. Okay. You can even work in an institution or an organization that if you take the male-female population, maybe the female population is actually in the higher percentage. But if you are going to look at the female population in top management, it's not necessarily the same. So in terms of top positions and leadership positions, you can. The gender gaps can be obvious. The other issue that is that is not as much talked about usually also is in the pay gap.
Right.
That it is, you can have situations where maybe women in probably the equivalent positions, whether they are earning the same as their male counterparts and or not, there are issues around there. So in certain situations, it is obvious. In other situations, it is not that obvious. I think the girl child education campaign has helped a lot.
Yes.
So that if you go lower down, like from primary school to junior high, even to some extent university now, it's not that obvious. But we need, like I keep saying, we need to keep working at it. I understand there are some schools that put in place affirmative action policies, which is very good. Because the idea behind affirmative action, the philosophy behind affirmative action is not that you want to benefit somebody, but you are acknowledging that because of past inequalities, someone has been disadvantaged. So you are trying to find a situation to be able to right the wrong that has been done. Right. And it helps to get, to at least it helps. Eventually, there is no evidence anywhere that it has been worse off, or that people who have come using the affirmative action have ended up not being as good as others who have not. So to some extent, yes, the gaps are obvious, but not always. I think we have done well as a country to some extent when it comes to but there's a lot more work to do.
Afia, what do you think?
I think that I share the same sentiments. If in Accra and in most urban areas, you don't see much of a problem unless you go to the top management level. But in the rural areas, the gap is wide and very obvious. It's very obvious to walk into a family setting where you see the women in the back. You see probably only one older woman who is not called Awu or Dabewa who is consulted. You know, the rest of them are in the back, relegated to the background. So it's very obvious over there. So in the rural areas, I think that often when we talk about gender, affirmative action, we center it in the urban areas. We need to take it back to the rural areas and make an impact there. A lot of times when we are empowering them, you have these, pushback and all that. Of course, you expect it because people have been used to a certain system. So we need to do more. But I think that if you come to even the urban areas where you have corporate world, it's a very terrible issue. Go to the tertiary institutions like Laura was talking about. Beyond even the tertiary institutions, how many women get positions? They have the same qualifications as the boys. How many of them get the same appointment, the same jobs without certain considerations? Sometimes there's this subtle way of demanding certain considerations from the girls when those considerations are not demanded from boys. So we need to take the conversations so that we can push the number of girls who get employment into the corporate world, because that is where, even when you start at the lower level, that is where you get the training and the skills development, emotional intelligence and all that to push to top management level. We need to do that advocacy. I think we've gotten to a point where we need to start writing documents to make a case to the employment ministry so that we can demand a policy, because we have statistics, research that shows the gender gap, very wide gap in corporate world between men and women. And we need to make a case that in every establishment, we need this percentage of women in management. In this media industry, Nanaba, where all of us are benefiting from now, how many women do we know that are in management?
Right.
Very few. In EIB, in multimedia, in TV3, how many women are in management? Very few.
Very few.
And it's not as if we don't have women who are, because in the media industry, we employ more women than men. But how many of them are in management? Like you said, very few. Why aren't we making a case that we need this percentage of women in management, so that they can formulate policies for our benefit? Often you have masculine policies, HR policies that don't have any benefits for the women. Women who are pregnant, who are supposed to only go on leave with a doctor's report. But sometimes the women are just not in a good mood. We have our own specific weaknesses, shortcomings, that are not as a result of our fault or our creation. We were just created women. We didn't have a choice. We didn't have a say. And those creations...
Even if we did, we'll still choose to be women.
Exactly. But it comes with certain difficulties that the society should understand and bear. But when you have people in top management who are oblivious of these challenges or difficulties, or I won't even say difficulties, they are specials. Because we are special in a certain way. Men are also special in a certain way. How do you get them to appreciate that? Look, 3 months of maternity leave is not enough. We are sleep deprived. So we would prefer maybe 4 months or 6 months. How can we get them to appreciate? Okay, give our men 1 month paternity leave. Let them come and support us, because often when we have the babies, they just walk out and go. They don't care how the babies cry at night. They don't give it. How do we get them?
One of my very good friends is actually an MD of a very big multinational in Ghana. She said she decided to push the agenda of paternity leave for the men, so they could go home for 2 months to support their wives. She said it was kicked out. And she was shocked. Yeah, she was shocked. Everyone said no.
Because she's alone. She's alone. And there are few people there. But if you had all of us, all of us sitting at the table
and this
in
was
one
her
company,
board, because
you
she was
have
the
to
only
deal with
woman
us.
on the board. The rest, all men.
Yes.
And they all kicked against it.
Because they don't understand the difficulties, where she's coming from. Why does a man need it? And I've even heard women who are, we don't need them. They won't even come home and do anything. They won't help us.
They'll leave the office and
drink. They'll go out and drink, so we don't need it. So, but we need to make a case
for
why it is beneficial for the family upbringing. The bonding time between the mother and the baby, the father and the baby. Because 2 people made that baby.
Exactly.
So one person should not be allowed to suffer alone. While the other person is enjoying. So we need to start pushing. But like I said, we need the data to make that case. We just don't want to go to the men and say, just because we are women, we want you to give us this. No, we want statistics, scientific findings that support that research has shown that when men and women work together and raise children, this is the benefit that we get. So we want to see that benefit that is inuring to the next generation. We are not just talking. Then we can get them to actually understand.
Tryphena, what do you think?
I agree with it. And I think this is actually a structural problem, that in as much as we would all want to bring change individually, it's going to start from the leadership, and we cannot experience change if the people leading us do not see the need for it. So I agree, well-informed policies, yes. We need something that, we need statistics to say that, okay, because of these data, because of these research, because of these findings, would want to institute this particular project, would want to bring up this policy to solve the problem. So I completely agree with what she's saying.
Okay. Now, still on the issue of making life comfortable for women, especially when they have delivered. Now there are some companies in Ghana, I think MTN has also started it. They have, playgrounds, daycares in their offices for women. Way to go. Is this something everyone should tag along?
Definitely, because the company is better off at the end of the day. The company gains more because the woman is present. Because at some point you need to breastfeed. At some point you will need to think about the baby to see how the baby is doing. But if you have a daycare there that you could just go in and feed the baby, at least there's peace of mind for you to concentrate on the work that you're doing and all of that. So at the end of the day, the companies are better off for implementing such policies. We should, but this would happen if we had a deliberate policy. So if we had as a country a deliberate policy that you go with the right education, you involve the people in the discussion or the dialogue, then you can deliberately enforce it so that within a certain time you are going to have all of that. The issue, Afia talked about the paternity leave, that like she said, it's because a lot of both men and women don't see the need. Maybe because traditionally the way men and women are raised in our society, men don't help with taking care of babies, so they don't see the need, but they need to see the benefits. When I had my son when I was studying. So what helped a lot was that my husband and my sister would take our son to postnatal. So they largely took care of that. Of course, he didn't have paternity, but if he had paternity, it would help. So maybe if we are able to do the education right for both men and women to see how it would benefit them, then it would sell. But in a situation where probably because of the upbringing, you don't actually expect the man to be of any help, why would you want to give him paternity leave? I can understand the women kicking against it and the men seeing that, but what am I going to do with it? I'm not supposed to do anything with a baby, so what am I supposed to do with that? But if the education is right, and the education would be right if we have a clear policy document, then you can communicate it very well to the population. We all get on board, we all benefit as a society. At the end of the day, we are all better off.
Now, I think, let me just do the shout outs for the men. I think the men of today are really trying.
Oh, yes.
They've improved. They are not their fathers and grandfathers. It's true. What Lawyer is talking about her husband, I'm sure her grandfather her husband's grandfather didn't do that. No. But men of today are really helping. I've seen several times when I'm going for jogging and I see men carrying their babies on their shoulders, trying to put the babies to sleep while their wives are home. I've seen several men over the weekend taking their children to
the playground.
You know, and it's good to see
they
them
even take their daughters and their sons to the barber, to the salon.
And I've seen a lot of men who take their daughters very personal. It's a big deal. And they warn you from infancy, you have to go through me. My daughter is my princess. And the people are putting their daughters on social media and making a case. When they do well in school, they praise them. You know, and it's
so that
good
the education is working.
The education is working, but we need to do it more because there still remains a lot of people who are not getting the message. So the way to go is to push them, to convince them, to persuade them into seeing the bigger picture. That once you push your daughters, once they grow, it's for your own benefit. You see a lot of fathers who are walking their daughters down the aisle and they are crying, they're weeping. I'm sure a lawyer's father, when she was called to the bar, was very excited to see that with all the challenges that she was going through, studying, having a baby, she made it and she was called. You know, I'm always saying that I wish my father would be here today to see me. To see you know, because I remember before he died, he would tell people, that's my daughter. And he would never tell me, but he would tell his friends, that's my daughter.
Exactly.
You know, and I'm sure your father is proud of you. So they are really improving. So we need to bring the rest of them on board.
And there's just to add to that, there's a certain aspect of the Ghanaian man also in our upbringing that have always said we probably haven't utilized much. If you notice Ghanaians, or a lot of Ghanaian men, they are actually very helpful.
Yeah, they are.
They
are. Absolutely.
They are very helpful.
I'm the first to say it.
You know,
I am
very
the first.
So they are very helpful.
So we need to know how to be able to harness that.
Exactly.
That's why I think that there's so much potential if we actually do it well. But at this point,
I'll put you on this. It's a fantastic quote.
We need that's why I keep. We can't overemphasize policy and leadership. We need deliberate policies. As for the slogans, we've heard enough.
And we see, I think that if we take somebody like former President Mahama and the current President Anadu, they've all shown that they're really, you know, for gender, affirmative action. You've seen them appointing young women who everybody said, look, these people, don't give them any chance. And yet, President Mahama went ahead and appointed them. Nanado has appointed a lot of women, young women, a lot of the young women as deputy ministers, as a training ground. Maybe in the next reshuffle, a lot of them will become ministers. So men are really helpful. Where we are, and I like the word that you use, harnessing that. That is our job. We need to get them to appreciate that, look, they are helpful when we approach the conversation in a certain way. You know?
But I mean, all of this, when we say that the men are changing, the men are doing well, and women are advancing, a lot of the time we concentrate on the urban areas. When you go to the rural areas, there are still so many challenges. For instance, even a woman menstruating is inhibited. She cannot cook for the husband. She cannot go on the farm. Recently, one of my colleagues was somewhere in the Upper West region. And one man said that if a woman is menstruating, she needs to stay far away from his farm because it could result in major losses for him. And it cuts across in a lot of the rural areas. How do we send this education to the men in the rural communities?
You know, I raised this point earlier that it's important to get that conversation over there, but you need to speak the language of the people. What is making them do that? These are all cultural practices that they also came to meet. So I'm sure if you question them, if you challenge them, what is the basis for these practices? They probably won't know. They'll give you some bogus excuse that has no foundation. But then you let them try the other side, which is that let a woman cook for you on this day, let a woman come to your farm and let's see if anything will happen. And then nothing happens. Then they see that, oh, but this thing is really outdated, it's really not benefiting anybody, so let's move away from that. So I think that where we got the men in mostly the urban areas to change was that we got them coexisting with women. In school, you are with them. In the church, you are with them. In the market, you are with them. I know men who will go to the market and even shop for their wives. They insist, don't go to the market, I will do and bring it to you. You know, so once we've gotten those in the urban areas through exposure and education to change, we can equally get those in the rural areas to change. But the emphasis for me is speak the language they speak, and you get them to change.
Do you agree with the same approach?
Yes, and in addition to that, I would say role modeling. in addition to the education, it has to be role modeling. You have to find a way to really get to them. I say role modeling because I remember there was an incident where I was at the village and there was this girl who wasn't in school, but there was this other child who, after school, another child would be teaching them A, B, C, D, and you could see this other girl who wasn't in school was picking it up, and she was a very fast learner. So I decided to go and speak to her mom to put her in school. The mom was so angry with me for suggesting that she should put her daughter in school. She insulted me. Yeah, she insulted. She did. What is school for? I mean, school is for bad girls. Yes, that was the way she saw it. School is for bad girls who go to school and they can't get married and they get pregnant, and that was her conception. But the same woman, after a few years, when she saw other women go to school and started making money, people become teachers, nurses, doctors, lawyers, and they were earning. By then her daughter was married. Guess what this woman did? She went for her daughter from her matrimonial home, brought her back home and put her in school. Of course, the girl married at an early age. And put the girl back in school. So the girl had a baby. She took the baby and she put I'm sure nobody had told her again that she had learned her lesson. Yeah, she saw. So role modeling, people need to see, so that yes, initially they may react a certain way to the information that you bring, but eventually, of course, it's normal. It's normal human behavior, right? Yes. Anytime we are used to the status quo, when you bring something new, resistance is quite normal. But after some time, when they do see that it's not a bad thing after all, they will. Human beings like something good. So if they see that this change is something that is going to bring them something good, why not? They would eventually, even if reluctantly, they try it. So role modeling.
I like your point about role modeling. Perhaps we all should go back to our villages.
I know.
And be the role models for the
people
young
to
girls
know
there,
that
and the young
you can do it.
And the fathers there, that we have come this far. And these days, they appreciate it. You see a lot of these older men who will call you, oh, you are my daughter. Oh. I like you. I see you on TV. Engaging. Because they are seeing that somebody through education is now on TV. and they see that it's beautiful. And their daughters could be in the same shoes. So perhaps we all should go back to our villages and do that.
We would also get together. For example, organize something in your village. Get a few people. Then they come and interact with the girls.
We will do that. We will do that.
Interact with the girls. It will help them a lot more than, because of course people have different things, but that would help. When they see.
We'll come back in a bit to wrap up State of Affairs. We'll be right back.
Michabiana Maniaje, Michabin Maniaje, Rof, Menumbia Mamma Humeka, Mania Homekanti, my fine. I don't go for me, I don't go for me, I'm a corner Maniaje, Rof, and you are buying you, and I, Muchabiana, my fine. Whenever I don't go every day, I don't go for me.
And too many power and you do much. And Sessa pin for noon. A drinking spots beer.
And don't go bitters. A demufua.
Rijoko, I come a passe. Rijoko, I am a topa. Nidande as from Rijoko, the end of the day. I'm a way to be a drink car, cocoa, I think. Rijoko, I come a Rijoko, Nidande as from Fanny, have you reached I come on Kasa na asanso aye motopa. Nida me yasro kupai.
Silver. A major new bottle. Same authentic taste. Natural herbs. Smooth and minty. Drink responsibly.
Keep it moving with an ice-cold Coca-Cola only at $2 CDs. Recommended retail price. Now available in zero sugar.
All right. Welcome back to State of Affairs with me, Nana Abanam. I'm here with Afia Pokua, Clara, Kasser-Tee, and Tryphena Lizette Yeboah. You have an interesting name, Tryphena.
Thank you.
What does it mean?
Delicate, so fragile.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Interesting name.
But I don't think you're delicate.
I'm not.
No, she doesn't sound delicate.
No, she doesn't.
Anyway, so, I mean, just to wrap up, Clara, there's the issue of, at some point, women have to choose between their career and the home. It's a difficult decision some women have to make. Should we be even having that conversation after so many years?
No, I don't
pushing
think
the empowerment agenda.
I don't think it's either or. Women don't have to be confronted with the situation of either or. There's always a balance. You need to know what sacrifices to make. But the balance becomes easier when you have a supporting spouse and a supporting family. So what we rather need to do is to at least talk more for families and spouses to be supportive of each other's careers. Then it doesn't become a choice.
Right.
A woman doesn't have to choose her career or her family. She can have both if we do right by all of us as a society.
Right. Tryphena. That choice. The choice between pushing your career and leaving it at some point to take care of the home.
No. I think we've been so liberated to the point that we can choose to do both. I don't think we should be limited in any way as far as women are concerned. We can choose to work and choose to love our kids and raise them the right way. I believe we have that power, and there should be no kind of regulation to tell us how to be women. I do not agree with that.
If you have the last word.
I remember Professor Mensa Bonsu, and she's an authority when it comes to criminal law, and she said that she sacrificed a law practice to raise her two daughters, but she didn't really sacrifice her career because she made a huge career in academic work, and up to today, and lawyer knows it. If you talk about criminal law, she's a big authority in criminal law. So you can't do both without sacrificing the other. So, but the men need to appreciate that we are all building a family together. So it's 50% of this and 50% of that, or whatever. It can be 30, 70. It doesn't. It differs from family to family. Absolutely. Whatever works for whatever family should be suitable for that family, as long as the family is the final beneficiary of it. But women have been proving to be more good at multitasking.
Oh yeah,
we can balance the home, we can build a career. Yes, many women are proving that. Even the women in the informal sector, lots of them in the market, they are able to build the home. Yes. Some of them are single mothers. They will build the home, raise children who become doctors and nurses and lawyers and journalists. And they do it flawlessly. So we can multitask. What we need is a support and encouragement. Sometimes we don't even have a problem doing both. But once the encouragement and the support is there, we do it beautifully. Right. So we need to have a conversation, coexist peacefully and happily.
Thank you very much. Afia Pokua, I forgot to say that she's the president of Sugar Dem.
No.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
We've agreed to do more advocacy, go round to the villages.
Starting with your village. What is your village?
You don't have to village. I'm a part of many colors.
Thank you very much. Afia Pokua, Clara, Kasser-Tee, it's always a pleasure having you around. And Tryphena, keep it up.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for watching the show. Have a good night.